it's an incredible pleasure to get to introduce a friend to many people over the years in a variety of different positions, but our relatively new executive director at the Columbia Institute. My dear friend Kevin Millsip is going to come up and chat with all of you. But I'm going to ad-lib a little bit of an intro and a bio to my friend Kevin. Many folks will have known Kevin from a variety of different things. He's done some incredible work with the libraries, but before that he was doing amazing work training up young people and making sure young leaders were coming into the movement with some capacity and some organizing ability and all of those things. And I know there's some folks in the room who went through that Next Step program that Kevin was involved in for many, many years, guiding and helping form the leadership of many organizations and elected folks. So when Kevin came to us and, knew we were looking for an executive director at Columbia, and we started having chats about that, we knew that it was a natural fit for Kevin to step in for David, who'd been there, who'd stepped in for Charlie, which was incredibly huge shoes to fill, as you can imagine. Kevin has not shied away from the hard work of reinvigorating this organization, finding some funding, and just being relentless, making sure that this work continues to happen so that you folks have the support that you need for the work that you do out in community. So it is really, truly an honor to get to introduce the Columbia Institute's new executive director, Kevin Millsip, who's going to take over the rest of the evening.
Thank you, everybody. I will try to be brief. My name's Kevin. My pronouns are he and him. And as Suzanne said, I worked for a while with a project called Next Up. Before that, I worked with a project called Check Your Head. And we did education on social justice issues in high schools around BC. It was a whack of fun. I've been a school board trustee in Vancouver, and then I went to work for the Vancouver School Board in their sustainability department. So I have some understanding of local government, when it drives you wacky and when you can get stuff done. I'm here in this role part-time. The other part of my time, I kind of lobby for libraries. And I just want to do a quick shout out. Some of you may have heard that after 6 years of effort, the provincial government announced today $45 million in additional one-time funding for public libraries. So I want to give a shout out to a lot of people in this room. A lot of you on your councils passed motions over the years to encourage the province to increase its funding to public libraries at your local government associations, at the UBCM. And I want to give a really special shout out to my friends at the BC Federation of Labor and to QPBC. Karen in particular, thank you so much. Our friends in labor have been there supporting our lobbying efforts every step of the way, and we have seen what collective effort can bring. So I just wanted to celebrate that success. Okay, real quickly. We did this earlier, but I want to do it again. By show of hands, for whom is this your first High Ground event? Okay, that's a lot of the room. Okay, next show of hands, for whom is this your first term being elected? A lot of folks. Fantastic. For whom might this be your 10th or more Columbia event? Hands up. Yeah, okay, a lot of folks. So whether this is your first time with us or your 21st time with us, we are really thrilled to be back on High Ground with you all. And this is our first in-person conference since 2019. We had the pandemic, so we took some time off, but we are back. So a little bit about Columbia. We've been around for over 20 years. Our mandate, as Suzanne said, is to support those of you in local government trying to move ahead progressive agendas, whether school board, council, regional districts, etc. And so we do that through research, through training, capacity building. We've been quiet for a while, but thanks to our friends at Van City, who have just come on board with they're investing $750,000 over the next 3 years in the Columbia Institute. So this is going to allow us to rejuvenate, to renew, to rebuild, and to go places boldly where we've never gone before. So a lot more coming on that front, but we're pretty stoked about what the next few years are going to bring. I want to talk briefly about the theme. The theme for this year is just called Home. Usually there's a tagline. There isn't this year, and I'll explain to you why it's called Home. Who remembers the old heat dome? What a fun time that was. My dad, who I was hoping would join us tonight, he's up in the room. He said, "What are my options?" And I said, "A dinner." And he said, "Is it like a fancy dinner with tablecloths?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "What are my other options?" Coronation Street. So Coronation Street won. And he's up there enjoying that right now. But he moved in with me at the beginning of the pandemic, and we are now roommates. And during the heat dome, we had that moment where, you weren't supposed to go outside because the heat was so bad, especially if you were a senior. The air was putrid, sometimes because of forest fire smoke. And we live on the 15th floor of a southwest facing an old building in the West End with no air conditioning. And I had these moments where we were like, what the crap am I going to do? Like, we're in this moment now where we have made such a mess of our planetary home that we are getting blowback to our primary homes, the places that we hope are safe and secure for us when we go to bed at night. And so that's when the seed was planted for me about this conversation, and that what we want is we want a safe, secure, affordable home for everyone in our community. That should be a right. In Denmark, you have a right to housing. That's another conversation. We can do it. And we have to also take care of our planetary home and everything in between, because we're not going to be effective at tackling one without tackling the other. That's how we got to this theme today. So thanks for joining us over these 27 hours. And just very briefly, our goal is to figure out ways to support you with the kinds of research and training and support that you need. So here's a call. If you have ideas for research or for training or for education that you think would be helpful to support your work, let us know. We're going to be developing a program to support trustees around the province. As a former trustee in Vancouver, I know that of all the levels of elected government, that's the one where there's the least for you generally if you're on the support side. We're putting together what we're calling like an on-call research service. So if you need help researching something that you don't have the time to research, whether it be a motion or a program or something you want to work on around alternatives to policing or whatever, you give us a call. We'll help compile that research and get it to you to support you in your work in your municipality. So we're going to be rolling out more work looking at the collaborations between First Nations and local governments. We've got a bunch of webinars coming in the next little while. We heard our friends from the Canadian Labour Congress and the Winch Institute. Can you just raise your hands? They had a great event in the Fraser Valley a couple of months ago, and there's a lot of folks who are here today who were at that event. And one of the things we heard from some folks is, you know what, I would like some education in parliamentary procedure. Like pretty basic stuff, but understanding the basic systems of how government works. So with our friends at the CLC and the Winch Institute, we're going to be offering a webinar in the next couple of months on parliamentary procedure. Again, the reason I'm mentioning this is that the reason we're doing these things is we're hearing back from folks who are in your seats, literally saying, these are the kind of things that would be useful for us. So hopefully we're going to be able to develop some more partnerships with our friends at Winch and the CLC, because they're doing their own great work supporting you and helping get a number of you elected and across the line as well. So more to come on those fronts over the next little while. I could go on, but why would I? One final thought. Having sat in your seat for a little while on the school board and then worked to support school board trustees and advance climate action at the school board level, I understand that we need people in government who are willing to step into the courage of their convictions to try to meet the moral mandate of this moment that we have been given, whether we like it or not. We stand kind of on the precipice of ecological breakdown. Like, we know that's what is ahead of us if we stay on the track we are. We've got the toxic drug crisis. We've got an affordability crisis. We've got a poverty crisis. And they're now interlocking and amplifying and feeding into one another. So we've left ourselves a job. You know, at some level, it's a fine mess. But at another level, if we think about this as an intergenerational moment of opportunity, we have an opportunity collectively to redefine what a good life means and what a just community and society looks like. So we have the collective desire to step into this moment together. I actually believe that there is no limit to what we can change and what we can make happen in a frighteningly short period of time. And if there's any lessons to draw from the last few years, it's that our systems and our society can turn on a dime. And we can have massive amounts of public investments in the public good in a heartbeat when we have the will and when we have the intention. And so this is all a part of our collective effort now to figure out how to make this happen on these other issues that are not called the pandemic. So thank you for joining us in this journey. We're really stoked about the next few years together.